Hello mga students! Welcome again to my class. Today, my reading and writing skills students will discuss to you about writing office correspondence. So they will focus into 4 objectives. First is to differentiate between a memo and a letter. Then the second will be to outline the parts of a memo and a letter for more effective organization. Thirdly, will to enumerate the different situations that would require the use of a letter and a memo. And lastly, they will identify to us the different types of letters. So let's check this out.
A letter and a memo. Lastly, we're gonna differentiate between a memo and a letter. Here you go. Thank you. Now I will be defining letters and classifying letters. So firstly, the letters have a lot of uses. A letter can be used for either complaints, questions, and even employer recommendations. In a letter, there is always a need of formality to make the letter look more pleasant to the person who will receive it. The letter is always needed to be organized to have that neatness and to look presentable to the one who's gonna receive it. Now, I'll be talking about classifying letters. So in a letter can be categorized according to the following. Firstly is positive and the neutral letters. In here, the letter communicates neutral and straightforward requests, questions to ask, and positive messages. These kind of letters are used for everyday business such as requests for information and responses to these. Next up is the persuasive letters. By the word already persuasive, which means to persuade or to convince the reader to perform a particular course of action. An example of a persuasive letter is sales pitches. Sales pitches is basically a sales worker trying to convince the buyer in buying the product with a reasonable price. And lastly is the negative letters. These letters contain obviously negative messages such as bad news, complaints, and misunderstandings. When writing a negative letter, special care is needed because it may disappoint, infuriate, which means to make someone really angry, and or to annoy the reader. That's all for my part. Fatima?
Thank for your pain. Organizing letters. Writing letters become easier when you stick to a suggested writing plan. The organization of the message is dependent on its content. The following patterns of organization, modified from Guffey 2007, can use depending on the letters you are writing. 1. Direct request. Neutral letters. Introduction. Begin with the most important question or request. Body. Explain the request clearly and politely. Conclusion. End with a request or for a concrete action with a definite time if possible, and express gratitude to persuasive message. Introduction. Open with a hook to grab your reader's attention, such as a question, benefit, unusual fact, or situation. Body. Provides details that increase interest. Use appeals to both logic and emotion. Anticipate the reader's concerns. Conclusion. End with an action that motivates the reader. Negative message. Introduction. Prepare the reader for the bad news by providing a neutral statement, such as facts, agreement, appreciation, or apologies. Body. Clearly state the reasons of the bad news before mentioning the news. Afterward, clearly express the news in an understand way. Conclusion. Provide an alternative if possible. Otherwise, include a forward-looking statement that building goodwill.
Thank you for Fatima for the pen. So, the topic for today will be about formatting your own business letter. There are many formats and forms of business letters, but what I have here will be considered to be the most generic, widely used, very popular format for business letters. So stick with me, because if you do not write the format properly, it might not as well be a business letter, but just an informal letter. So here are the parts of the format. Okay, so first we have the heading. The heading should be on the left side of the paper. The heading will be your contact information, your email, and your company name. So this will be like the heading should be first, because it is a way so that the recipient to contact you. So put in your company name, your email address, your number, anything that they, or any way so that they can contact you. So you put a space underneath that and you put date. So the date will be whatever date that you wrote this on, and then the next part will be your name. So make sure that it is your full name with your title on it. Like maybe you're a doctor, so you put doctor, then your full name. Okay, and then the next part will be your position on the company. So if you're a secretary of the company, just put a secretary of blah blah blah. Or if you're a driver, an entrepreneur, you put that in, an entrepreneur for this company, a driver, stuff like that. And then the next part will be the inside address. The inside address will be the address of the recipient. So make sure you know the address of the recipient. It could be like the location of his or her personal home, or it could be the company behind the thing. It can be the company that you're trying to send to. So you put in the company's name or the location. It works fine either way. And now you put spaces underneath those whole body, so that you will first start off with a salutation. A salutation is a greeting, or like the first remarks of your letter. So, dear whoever this may concern, dear full name, dear this company, or hello company name, full name. There are many salutations out there, so it is up to you to choose what salutations fits your formal letter the best. And then we put space here. All right, we put a space here, and then whatever you write next will be the information that you want to give to your recipient. That is called the body. So the body will be once again, it'll be in a formal type of writing. At the same time, it should give information that you want to send to your recipient. It can be one paragraph or many, as long as you put the proper indentation and when you're writing more than one paragraph, make sure there are 2 spaces underneath the paragraph so that you can start your next one. Up next will be your complimentary. So what is your complimentary? It will be your final remarks of the letter. So maybe a simple thank you, sincerely, or your special buddy, etc. But for a formal business letter like this, you should put in sincerely, as it is the most used and the most common one. And then you put in a space or your signature. It depends upon you. And then after your writing signature, it'll be your name, which is your formal signature. Do you get what I mean? So a complimentary space, your signature, your written signature, and then after that it'll be your full name. So that is how you write your own business letter. And a few key points: if you're planning to put bulletins on your body, make sure they're on the left side, or it has an indentation of the in the body. And also take care to do a spelling check, proofread whether or not you've done it correctly. So this might not be the most suitable format for you, but it is better than nothing. And you can always research the internet on how to make more formats, or get more formats that's suited for your own formal letter. So that is it. I'll be passing on this pen now. Alright, so here.
Ooh, pen. Thanks. A memo, or memorandum, meaning reminder, is normally used for communication policies, procedures, or related official businesses within an organization. Instead of a one-on-one direct communication, it is mostly written from a one-to-all viewpoint, transmitting a message to an audience. It can also be used to inform a team on activities for a specific project, or to alert a particular group of an event, action, or observance within an organization. Memos have various uses and purposes, such as giving recommendations, requesting for information, sending orders to employees, providing responses to queries, sketching out procedures, rules and regulations, reporting about finished actions or new information, and finalizing. The purpose of a memo is often to inform, but it sometimes involves an element of persuasion or a call of action. All organizations have communication networks that are informal and formal. Within an organization, the unofficial informal communication network is often called grapevine, and it is often marked by rumor, gossip, or innuendo. One person may hear on the grapevine that someone else is going to be laid off and begin passing the news around. rumors change, and transform as they are transmitted from person to person. And the word is that they shut down your entire department before you know it. While memos normally do not include a call to action that requires personal spending, they often represent the interest of the company or organization. They may also include statements that align the interests of businesses and employees and emphasize on common ground and profit. However, in essence, memos simply direct attention to issues and help resolve them. They do this by informing the reader and of the writer's intentions. I write because telling the reader what he needs to know, like facts and minutes of meetings, and moving him to actions like consulting with management or writing a report. Memos are presented as their purpose best when they link the writer's intentions with the reader's interests and needs. Now, memos can come into two forms: in handwritten form or email form. Even if you change your memo from an email form to a handwritten form, though I have doubts that handwritten forms would be common nowadays since we are all progressed to technology, the same rules will still apply. So in writing and organizing memos, we have these guidelines to follow, which will help us in writing memos. Number 1. Know your reasons and goals to writing the memo. If you are going to share sensitive information or give out a simple instruction, a memo may not be the best channel. Some messages are better relied through face-to-face conversation or a phone call. Number 2. Do proper research on all your facts. Talk to people, review files, and consult your superior to get your information straight and accurate. Most professionals make the mistake of sending memos with erroneous information. This wastes time and effort for both the writer and the reader. Third, choose your audience wisely. If you plan to send the memo only to one person, do not send it out to the whole office. Make sure that your message only reaches its intended recipient, or you will run the risk of leaking out information to people who have no business knowing it. Fourth, formally begin the memo by labeling the top of the page with memorandum, memo, or other similar labels. 5. Provide headings for your memo indicating the name of the recipient, the name of the sender, the date the memo is written, and the subject of the memo, in which a format is provided: to, from, date, and subject. The subject line should be upfront, clearly worded, and specific about the content of the memo. If its subject line is vague, the reader may as well just skip over it. Introduction. Start by stating your purpose for writing, and then follow this up with a short abstract of the memo's body. Make sure the main points of your message are already highlighted here, so that your reader knows what to expect as he reads on. Make your introduction as short and concise as possible. So, one paragraph will do for the introduction. Body. This part develops the main points highlighted in your opening. Begin each paragraph or section of the body with a sentence containing the most important information, so your reader can quickly find the information he needs. Then further develop the first sentence of each section with supporting facts and points. Keep all paragraphs within the body of the memo short. Use just a maximum of 8 lines per paragraph. Remember to arrange your information according to importance, from the most to least important. You can also make use of subheadings to organize the content of the memo more effectively. Try to make your memo as reliable and easy to understand as possible. You can use columns, bullet lists, white space, underline, or bold text, and other techniques that increases ease of reading. These will actually help your audience retain the information in their minds later. Conclusion. This should briefly highlight again your main points in the introduction. Then, it should request an action from the reader. Example, Please reply on or before. Attend the board meeting next week. If action is not requested of the leader, then the segment may end instead with a courteous closing thought. Example: thank you for your kind consideration. I would like to consult with you next week. The conclusion can also mention to whom the reader can address further queries or comments about your memo. When you're writing memos, do not use salutations at your opening. Example: Dear Mr. Alvarez, or a matching close. Example: Sincerely, Miss Santos. Now, furthermore, you do not need to close your memo with your signature, since you as the sender are already mentioned in the heading at the top of the memo. Keep the memo overall as short as 1 page, or even less. Any additional information can be attached to the memo, or put in a separate summary. Remember as well to use simple, specific, and concrete language in writing your memo. If your reader can fully understand your message after reading your memo, it was written effectively. You can follow these additional tips as taken from Gurfree 2007 in formatting your memos. Set one tab to align entries evenly after the subject. Type the subject line in all caps or capitalize the initial letters of principal words. Leave 1 or 2 blank lines after the subject line. Single space all but the shortest memos. Double space between paragraphs. For full page memos on plain paper, leave a 2-inch top margin. For half-page memos, leave a 1-inch top margin. Use 1.25 inches as side margins. For a 2-page memo, use a second page, heading with the addresses, name, page number, and date. Handwrite your initials after your typed name. Place bulleted or numbered lists flush left or indent them 0.5 inches. And that's about it for my part.
So, hello everyone, and today I'm going to talk about the differences between a memo and a letter. So, according to keydifferences.com, a memorandum, or rather shortly known as a memo, is a precise official note used to either inform, direct, or advise, etc. the members within the same organization. Meanwhile, a letter refers to a brief message sent by the company to the person or entity which are considered the outsiders, or rather the external parties or party. And a memo is usually written informally, yet concise, while a letter is actually the literal opposite, which is written formally and informative. And that a memo is typically exchanged, or rather distributed, among departments, units, etc. within the same organization, so it's basically one-to-many. And that a letter is typically among company and client. So basically, what I said earlier, outsiders, like external parties or party, people who are not within the organization, and this is usually one-to-one. And earlier, I mentioned that a memo is short, so when it comes to a letter, it's usually quite long. And this actually usually depends on the topic that between the company and client are talking about. And the content of a memo is the use of using technical jargon, and the use of personal pronoun is also allowed. As for the letter, or business letters to say, is mostly with simple words, and it is written in third person. And in conclusion, memos are just for simply directing attention, giving notice, information, statements, etc. within the organization, and that it is informal. As for letters, or business letters, like I said a while ago, is meant for getting information, and that formality is a must. Not only that, since it came from an external party, from the client, the messages are highly sensitive and cannot be shared, and it must be organized, well organized. And yeah, that is all for the differences between a memo and a letter. And since this is not really my pen, I'll be giving it to anyone. Here you go.
Oh, thank you, Shane. So that's it for our topic. I hope that you have learned a lot. You never know, this might be helpful in your upcoming future. So once again, thank you all for watching, and we will see you again next time.
There you go, mga students. You've heard the different point of views of my students. So if you want to share your thoughts and opinions too, please comment down, and don't forget to click the notification bell in order for you to be updated if I have new videos. And don't forget to subscribe, because as I usually say, subscribe now, laugh and learn later. Once again, ito na naman yung gurong vlogger ng Kuwait, guro sa umaga, YouTuber and live streamer paggabi, saying God bless you all and always keep safe. Bye-bye!